me the link.
Thanks, Clarissa.
So your Media One page is kind of your calling card for your podcast business. I always send hosts my Media One sheet, a bio sheet with a short bio and the long bio, so they have options, and my headshot. As far as tech is concerned, you can start out with your camera on your laptop or your desktop, whatever you got, and that microphone. That's usually okay. You can move on to bigger and better things when you feel like this is something for you. Background, make sure your background looks nice. Make sure that, it's pretty. We've all seen the meme about the girl who was doing a Zoom and she had a big old device in the back hanging out on her bookcase. Does everybody remember that meme? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. So as far as tech is also concerned, keeping you want to keep yourself accountable with what you put out there, to who did you pitch? Have you applied to them? Have you had pre-calls? That kind of thing. Tracking system. I'm a Trello girl. Asana is also very good for this. You can just have a plain old spreadsheet, whatever you like. Calendar, you want to have a calendar that's totally devoted to this, so your comings and goings. Storage, Dropbox, Google Drive, something that you can have everything in one place. And I'm going to show you about that in a couple of minutes here. I like to use Podmatch for podcasting to match up with other hosts because I generally only guest. It's really important to do some hashtags and keywords. That'll be important a little bit later. You can find other podcast hosts on YouTube, Google. Just kind of put in your keywords and you'll find other people. This is my Podmatch where I've sent out a pitch to a host and they got back to me, just so you can kind of see. And it's a canned pitch. I send it to everybody. Sometimes I will, tailor it if they have something maybe in their profile that lets me know I should kind of tailor it a little bit. But for the most part, this is all canned. Things I look at when I pitch somebody: how many episodes have they released? How many monthly downloads do they have? How many episode downloads? What is their audience like? Who are they talking to? Noah is not going to go on a podcast and talk to somebody about somatic yoga. Rachel might. Noah's not. So know the audience they're talking to. And what kind of a guest are they looking for? That's important too. Always be camera ready. You can go onto YouTube, and if you put in my name, you will see me with bedhead. Why? Because the host lied to me and said, do it soon, but I never use the video. Yeah, they lie. Always be camera ready. Mute your phone, no distractions. Their audience, because you're getting in front of their audience. They deserve 100% of your attention. Make sure you think your host right away. Call to action. Make sure you have something that you're going to send these this audience to, whether it's a lead magnet, a book, an event, whatever. Prior to recording, ask the host to send you an edited MP3 of the episode. This will come in handy, trust me. And you have about 30 to 90 seconds to kind of figure out. Some hosts like to do all the talking. Like, why are you even there? Some introduce you and then they just stop talking and it's just you. So you got to kind of figure out who you're talking to real quick. Some hosts like to have scripted questions. Make sure you have final approval on those, because you don't want them asking you something you don't want to answer. And then some hosts like to have more of a conversation over coffee. Well, that's okay too. On my Media One sheet, I do have a couple of questions. They're pretty standard for folks to ask. I talked about this last time. Never, never, never pay to speak. I had a situation where I paid out $550 to speak. The guy, his audience was going to revolutionize my business. Yeah, that didn't happen. Then he offered to give me feedback, and he told me that nobody would ever buy from me because I'm a bitch. So, learn from my very costly mistake. Don't ever pay. Okay, so this is where we ended up. You've been a podcast guest. Now what? How do you start your own podcast without actually having to interview people? So you've taken the time to be a fabulous guest, and now we're going to milk it and we're going to work it. Does anybody get this meme here? Does anybody understand the milkshake, the milk? Anybody? Okay.
My dad was an FFA teacher, so I grew up around cows at the fair.
Okay, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to create your podcast blurb. Hold on. Buddy says hi. Everybody, there we go. Buddy says hi. All right. Go play. Now, what you want to have in this blurb is where they can go to get your call to action. Anything, all your links, all your social media, anywhere that they can find you. I put in my email address, but this is going to go with every podcast that you do. Okay. You want to collect the content. So let's say you've gone ahead, you've been a guest on someone's podcast. You collect the episode title, the podcast cover art, whatever that little thumbnail graphic is, the episode show notes. Now, I generally ask the host for all of this information so I can put it out to my audience as well. I kind of tell them that, I'm in this together with them and how I want to help them advertise their podcast. Sometimes they send it to me. Sometimes I have to Google. But I get their episode show notes. I get the MP3. Remember that edited MP3 we asked for earlier? Yes. The video, if they have it, and any other graphics, reels, clips, whatever, shorts, whatever they do, okay? I collect all the content. Now, I use something called Uniconverter. This is it. You can also use Audacity, which is free. I have Wondershare, so I use this Uniconverter. And what we're going to do is, if you don't have the audio, you can download the video off of YouTube, and you can swipe the audio from it. All right, because we do need that MP3. So from YouTube, I usually start at YouTube. Now here's creating your channel on YouTube. You want to do customization. I added a section. You can add these sections. And so I have a section just for podcasts. So that's where I add the video for all, all the ones that are on YouTube already. I put them in there. And then I take the show notes that I collected from them. I add my little blurb to it. Remember that little blurb you created? I add it to that and I put it in here. You can go to here, I Googled, in YouTube, I searched my name. I found a podcast that was there. I clicked where to save it to. There's my podcast channel on my YouTube channel, and boom, it shows up there. So that's really easy for the YouTube. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about here? I'm going really fast. We good? All right. Now I'm going to go over to Spotify for podcasters, completely free. You're going to fill out the podcast profile for your podcast, not theirs, yours. All right. Here's your RSS distribution. You want to put in a name for your show. This is all pretty self-explanatory. This is like uber important though. Okay. And then you can submit it. So I have mine, mine goes automatically to Amazon Music, Apple, all of these different places. Okay. Once I upload a new podcast MP3 and I put it in, it goes to all these places for me. So once your channels are up and running, and you have to go to each one of those, you have to go to Apple, you have to go to Amazon, you have to create these channels in each of those places. And once they're all up and running, you then go to the home screen for your podcast. And up at the top, you add a new episode. You're going to add the MP3, the one that you were a guest on. Okay. And you're going to follow the screen. It's going to literally take you, section to section. You fill it all in. You add your blurb to the show notes. And I usually do this in a doc and I save it. I schedule the day and time. I add the logo or the cover art, the rating, hit save. Literally, it's going to go out for you to all those channels. You have now created your own podcast from podcast episodes that you were a guest on. Everybody get it? Everybody understand?
I have a question, Anissa.
Yeah.
Do you watch out for anything in terms of like just copyright permission? Like, how do you deal with that?
They usually don't have a problem because you're putting it out to your audience and you have all of their links as well. So you're advertising for them as well. I've never had anybody come back and ask or give me a problem. But also, I'm also very fair. I take all of their links and I put it out there with mine because it is their podcast.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was kind of fun, a little bit of work. Now we're going to get to the boring stuff. Storage and tracking, but this is really important stuff. One, external hard drive. Obviously it's yours. Not easy though to share items sometimes, right? Cloud, Pro, easy to share items with teams and VAs, but it's not yours. I use Dropbox, quite frankly. And I'm kind of organized. Every year I have a year. Every one that I've been on has a folder. All of the graphics, the MP3, everything goes into the folder. I'm kind of a nut like that. However, it's easy for me to find stuff. This is really important, especially for sharing stuff and keeping track. As you can see, I've got the MP3, I've got the graphic, and I've got the show notes. You could add the video if you wanted. It's up to you. All right, again, remember we talked about this little flow. So, from the pre-calls, we got scheduled, then we've got released. And from released, I put in literally, when is it scheduled to be released? And then did I actually put it onto Spotify? It used to be Anchor, now it's Spotify. So I have this flow that tells me, okay, hey, don't forget, you've got this one coming out. We've got to get it out and onto Spotify. And again, I'm really kind of organized. I have it's color coded. It tells me where I am in the process. I'm kind of around the bend about it. And then it tells me, okay, so this guy, and this is for social media marketing, has it Did I put it out to all of my social media places? And so it just kind of helps me remember of all the places that I can put it out and post it and let them know, hey, this new one is out. Inside, literally, all the places that I'm going to, I've put it to the description, where it is in Dropbox, so I can go and get everything very easily in Dropbox. And it's all right there as well in my Trello and along with in Dropbox. I know it's a little much, but I'm a little much, so there we are. Yeah, I didn't put this into whatchamacallit. I didn't put this into slide mode. Oh, well. So things to consider. Can you all see the entire screen? Oh, there we are. Algorithms reward you with consistency. If you are consistent, you will show up. So I like to put mine out on every Thursday. Every Thursday, a new episode gets released. But what if you don't have enough podcasts to release every week? Then what do? How to start your own podcast without actually talking to people. So you've been a fabulous guest. Consistency. I'm really going ahead with this. Okay. So now we're going to talk original content. How do you, when you have an opening, when you have a space, you don't have something to post that week, how do you fill that space? Because you want to be consistent. So I start with my phone and a new page in the Pages app. And I save the page to the cloud and I move to the laptop. I open the page, edit it, creating a script. So literally what I do is I literally talk into my phone. I say everything I want to say because I have the gift of gab. And sometimes my thoughts are not maybe very cohesive. I want to make sure that I don't sound like a complete and utter idiot when this goes live. So I talk, I create a page, it dictates it. I take it, I open it up on my laptop and I create a script. Okay. I like Big View. I don't know what y'all use for teleprompter. However, I use Big View. I like it. It's easy to work. It's very user-friendly. And I need user-friendly kind of stuff. I use it for teleprompting and I use it to make my videos with captions. I edit the video in Big View. I upload the video to YouTube as a private. And then I take the YouTube video link, I put that into Wondershare converter, and I get the MP3, just like I did earlier. Okay. So now I've got a transcript because I created it. I took my edited, transcript. I've got a video with captions and I've got an MP3 audio. Does everybody follow? Because I'm going really quick. Everybody good? Cool. Now I utilize something called TubeBuddy to optimize my YouTube videos, my show notes, edits, tracking. There's all kinds of fun stuff in there. It's really, really cheap. It's like $30 a year or something. And the Big View is also really cheap. So this is just some things you can do. They're very inexpensive, but they pay out in spades if you're going to do this. Okay. So what we're going to do with our original content, you've got everything you need now to promote your message on YouTube, your blog or vlog, podcast, your own podcast, social media posts, reels, etc. You could produce a month's worth of content literally very easily in one day. Easy. And that's probably, 4 different episodes. If you don't have podcasts that you've, guested on to also put out there. Some first things you want to do for content creation. You want to record a trailer for your Spotify podcast channel. That's really important. So that way, when people first go to your channel, they can hear a little bit of snippet from you about what are you talking about? Who are you? Why should they listen to you? You could do a trailer for your YouTube channel, also very important, and any other welcome messages for your accounts. Get that out of the way, get it done, and put it out there. Now you know how to say it. The big question is, what do you say? So here's some ideas. There are always a special, and you can Google this, special day of the week. Like last week was like National Beer Day or something. Why is, maybe Michelle could talk about why beer is important to your health or something, maybe next week it's Roth IRA Day. I don't know, Noah. But you can find these special days that you can talk about. There's weeks, there's months, there's seasons. But best practice is look at your marketing plan for the 12 months, create a theme for each month, and then break it down by week. And if you don't have enough to say for 4 weeks, the last week you could do like a Q&A regarding that month's topic. So for me, like January is usually self-help month, believe it or not. For me, I like talking about tea as self-care. I'm sorry, it's January self-care month. So I like talking about tea. I might talk, 4 weeks about tea. You could do that. What does that have to do with yoga? Probably nothing, but it's self-care. I could talk about yoga for self-care. Now, for, Rachel and I, September is yoga month. We could totally talk about that for a whole month. So keep in mind, you don't have to talk for 30 minutes to an hour. You could just start out 3 minutes, maybe 11 minutes. Remember, you don't want to give away the farm. You don't want to talk about everything you've got to talk about because you want people to come to your website. You want people to come to your workshops. You want to give them a taste, but you don't want to give them everything. ROI. So I talked a little bit about this. If you want to really do this and really kind of do it well, for roughly about $500 that first year, you can get all of these different software programs. This one you would only, I think you only buy that once. And so this would be less the second year. But these are things that you can do to market your own podcast message. And we know about marketing. We never know where our money is really well spent. This is a place where it's literally, it's practically free. You're getting out there a whole year worth for $500. So it's really for ROI. You're building your authority. You're getting in front of other people's audiences, as well as getting in front of yours. So the ROI on it is pretty outstanding. So that is it. I have flown through this. Who's got questions? Who wants me to go over anything? Crickets. Crickets.
I had one. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I thought it was super helpful. It's a little overwhelming for me to see it all. And so maybe that's why we're all being quiet, but it's super helpful and enlightening. I learned a lot.
it is overwhelming, especially when you're not really sure how to do this. This is just how I kind of figured out how to do it. Nobody taught me how to do this. This is just this was my learning curve. And it can be kind of, overwhelming. However, especially with the tracking, I'm kind of uber organized about it. But I found, especially because, I've got PTSD, I need to know where things are and where I can find it quickly. But it's also kind of good to have because it is your content, and you need to have a way where you can really keep track of your content. So it doesn't have to look like this. Just find your own way that you can really keep track of your own content, because it's important.
Maybe you've already hit on this, but like, can you just say, like, to get started, what's like the number one thing or top three things we should do that could be just to help with the overwhelmingness of it? If you know
I
what
would go back to the start. I would do the media one sheet and get yourself on podcasts. Like, literally, that would be the first thing I would do. And get a bunch of them. Be a guest on 10, 15, and then start saying, okay, I've got, 10 to 15 here. Now I'm going to start putting them out under my own label, if you will. And then kind of figure out from there, how do you want to structure that? Doing the podcast thing where you go to where was it? Spotify. This is a little time consuming. You're going to spend probably 2 hours doing this, but once it's all done, once you put it out there at that one place, it goes out to every place. And so that's why you want to spend a little bit of time here. That would probably be the next thing, but I would wait till you have a couple in your, under your belt. Plus, when you're first starting out as a podcast guest, your first couple may not be that great. You may not want to put them out there until you kind of get, used to how this works. I have one that I will not ever put out. The guy was totally focused on me diagnosing him. And I'm like, dude, I don't diagnose. So he was totally wrapped around, me diagnosing him. Like, that was his whole thing. I'm thinking, no. So, that might happen too. So how does that sound?
I think that's great. Thank you.
So, question, you said some of them you have the pre-approved questions, and then others are more like coffee chats. How with the ones that you don't have the pre-approved questions, how do you deal with it if they go off on a random or not good track with that? Like your guy who just kept insisting, it sounds like.
And I learned this from trial and error. So I am a 2-time rape survivor. I have learned to tell my host, I am happy to talk about my first rape. I'll go into explicit detail if you'd like. However, I do not talk about my second rape. I will kind of just say that I'm a 2-time rape survivor. It happened 8 years ago. That's all I'm going to say. I will not go into detail. Most people are okay with that. I tell them this ahead of time because I don't want to go there. That is my only thing. That's the only thing I'm not going to talk about. Side note, you will find women will not ask. Men do. They want the details. I think that's a little creepy. Yeah. I have got one guy kind of pressed for me to tell him the details of my second. And I just said, that's just something I don't share. So Again, I learned that from trial and error. I always tell every host, I will not discuss that. You can put something on your media one sheet that says, I will not talk about X, Y, and Z. That's okay. You're allowed to, and feel free to enforce that. So that's how I handle it. And sometimes I will, sometimes you have to gently massage the conversation back to what you want to talk about. You know how that goes.
I mean, I'm talking about websites. In theory, they shouldn't have any room to get gross. There's not as touchy of a subject, but right.
How do I put up a kiddie porn website?
Yeah. No.
Right? No and hell no. So, I mean, you never know what
Right.
somebody's going to ask you, how do I go on the dark web? Where is
Yeah.
it?
Not my specialty.
But that might be something you put on your media one sheet. I do not discuss the dark web. I don't go there.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Boundaries, and hold your boundaries there, and that's okay. I mean, somebody could ask Noah, how do I do a pyramid scheme? I mean, how do I embezzle money? I mean, maybe those are things she wants to put on her media one sheet. I don't do embezzling. I mean, that's totally cool. Anybody else have questions? I know I ran through this.
You did, and there's so much there. I mean, it's so super helpful, and I can't believe that it's not more out there, that if you can just put your own podcast out on Spotify without some kind of subscription or something.
It's absolutely free.
It's amazing.
And not only does it go to Spotify, it goes to Apple. I just found out I'm on Alexa. I can even put myself out on Alexa, and I'm on Alexa. I have people who listen to my podcast in countries I didn't even know existed. I mean, it's so the Spotify, they give you a really great breakdown of the countries that you're being listened to, and where it's going out. I'm on Audible. I'm on places. That's kind of cool. What's really cool is that once you set this up, and like I said, it takes about 2 hours. It's 5 minutes of work once a week, and boom, it goes out. It goes out to all those places. So it's really worth doing the time to set it all up. And if you decide to do something like this and you kind of want me to help you with it, I am happy to kind of walk you through it, because it is kind of overwhelming. And truly, I learned about this from trial and error. This is my learning curve. Anybody else? Bueller?
Thank you for sharing and helping us to learn from your mistakes, but also your trial and error, because this is amazing. Like, I think it's invaluable for anyone who wants to be on podcasts. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I started this back in 19, and literally this is my learning curve. I mean, it's taken me this many years to kind of figure this all out and do this. Nobody taught me. I haven't had a course on it before or after. This is just what I came up with. So, but if in your trial and error you find something else out, please share it, because I'd love to know something new. And again, if anybody needs help with this, I am happy to help. So, but thank you for listening to me ramble. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I have a question. So Anissa, it seems like the most ROI in terms of platform is Spotify because it goes out to all these other platforms, right? But for people who, and I'm not talking about myself because I haven't really done podcasting, but I think there might be a few people here who are focused on Apple, or like, is that a feature that Apple also has, or do you recommend like people just add Spotify to their repertoire?
I would totally recommend Spotify. What I like about this is that, you do this and it goes out to all of these other places. So it's kind of, it's just really simple to be able to put it out to one place and have it just go all over. I don't know if Apple does that.
Yeah. I just wanted to see if maybe that's something that some of us here who might have podcasts would just would just consider to look into, because yeah, it seems amazing to me that you can just do in one place and it goes everywhere. I didn't know that Spotify had that capability. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll sort of add, Clarissa, like, so Spotify for podcasters is like the podcast host. So most podcast hosts have that where it goes out to all the different podcast app platforms. Just like Anissa said, you have to like set it up once, but then it goes out to all of them.
I don't know where. Yeah, I like, there's, I think Podbean.
Yeah, that's what I use.
You use Podbean, yeah. And it goes out to everything as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Typically, Apple gets the most downloads. Spotify is second for me. iHeartRadio is third. But that's why people will give Apple links, because it's like typically the most used podcast app. But they still send them out to all the other ones.
Cool. Thank you both.
Spotify is probably my big one. And Apple is right there behind it. I don't know if it's because I use the Spotify podcaster. I don't know if it's that reason or not. I do very well on Audible. So go figure. I don't know. I can't figure it out, but people are listening, and that's the important thing.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, we have about 7 minutes left. Any final comments or anything for Anissa? If not, we could just share some gratitude, or even end a few minutes early. Does anyone have any like updates they want to share with the group, or just questions in general?
Yeah, Rachel, your picture's been frozen for quite a while, actually. Hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. I don't have anything really to share. I have a head cold, so my brain is a little foggy today. But yeah, no one else has anything, we can end about 5 minutes early. Does anyone
Well, I
have
can
any
do,
gratitude?
I mean, I can do gratitude, but no, I think like since you were looking for public speaking gigs for like financial advising, the podcasting is a great idea for that too.
No, I think it is too. The hard part for me is compliance. Like anything I do with podcast has to go through compliance. And my compliance team doesn't love approving podcasts because it's out there forever and stuff. So that's why I haven't done a ton. And when I do them, I don't go through my compliance team. And I know of somebody that got fired because they went on a podcast and said something bad. Like,
Mm.
I would never say what he said because he said dumb things, but like, it's just very, yeah,
Yeah.
compliance is annoying for me. But, maybe as technology evolves, my compliance team will also evolve. We'll see.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, I have gratitude for me and Anissa's one-on-one last week. It was such a fun time. I loved really getting to know you.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm. And that Kristen joined us as a new member. Yay!
Yeah, she's
Yay.
official. So yeah, I know. I'm excited. Well, I think we can wrap up a few minutes early. If no one else has anything else, and we'll see each other all
Yeah.
in about a week.
Everybody's
Okay.
bailing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you
Thank
can
you so
start
much for your time,
recording.
Anissa.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just said thanks for your time and your knowledge for sharing.
Thanks for listening to me yak. I mean, like I said, I know I went through it real quickly, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You ladies have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you,
You too.
Anissa.
Have a good week. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. And you can pause the recording now, Noah.
Yes.